Who controls the language controls the narrative. Why are some voices louder than others? Why do certain perspectives dominate public discourse while others remain unheard? Muted group theory provides an answer. Revealing the ways power shapes communication, muted group theory explains how the English language is essentially a man's language that women have had to adapt to. The true definition of muted group theory is how a minority group is often silenced or muted by a dominant group. Edwin Ardener and Shirley Ardener initially published this theory in 1972. The theory was extended in publication in 1975. Women are primarily the affected target in muted group theory. Awareness of the matter has importance. We can take action to establish more inclusive settings where a range of voices are respected and heard by being aware of the communication obstacles that marginalized groups face. One concern with the muted group theory is that it facilitates victimization discourse. According to Linda Smith Barkman's research, although it can promote conversations about victimization, it is important to understand that it is not its only objective. Muted group theory's main goal is to draw attention to the structural obstacles that prevent these groups from communicating effectively. English is essentially a man's language that women have had to learn. Women feel that they have little speaking power. The English language reflects ideas of a patriarchal society that are best suited for men. The fact that English has gender-specific job titles is another illustration of how the language is suited for patriarchal society. Jobs like mailman, fireman, policeman are just some examples. Since women have been found to work in these occupations under the same job titles, the English language has remained unchanged. Traditional roles and gender stereotypes are frequently reinforced by the words and expressions that have developed over the ages. Terms that denote power, authority, and leadership are frequently male-centric. Words like manpower, mankind, and chairman inherently suggest a male-dominated context. According to Francisco Hernandez and Michael Macaluso's research, Read Like a Man, English literature, which has largely been dominated by male authors, often represents narratives that prioritize male experiences and viewpoints. Plenty of literature has been found to cling to masculine ideologies. Women authors have been known to mask their identity in an attempt to get ahead in the writer's market. J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter books, using her initials as her pen name was an intriguing and calculated move on the part of J.K. Rowling. In addition to being a branding strategy, the decision to use her initials as J.K. instead of her full name, Joanne Rowling, was a conscious attempt to hide the fact that she was a female author. Another author that used her initials instead of her name was S.E. Hinton. S.E. Hinton aimed to ensure that readers would focus on the story itself rather than the identity of the author. This choice was particularly significant in the 1960s when her popular book, The Outsiders, was published. The 1960s was a period marked by rigid gender roles and expectations that sparked plenty of controversy. She decided using her initials rather than her first name, Susan, would appeal better to male readers. It is still important to note, muted group theory wasn't around until the mid-1970s. J.K. Rowling published her series of books in the late 90s. There was still a lot of work to do in regards to muted group theory. The experiences of women working in male-dominated fields provide one illustration of muted group theory in action. Women may experience pressure to adopt male communication styles in these settings, which could result in the repression of their distinct viewpoints and contributions. Women also tend to report more negative emotions than men in the workplace, while men report more positive emotions in day-to-day experiences. According to Taylor et al.'s research in Gender and Emotions at Work, organizational studies that look at gender differences tend to focus more on emotion expression or regulation than on the subjective experiences of men and women at work. Women who voice their opinions or assert themselves may be branded as aggressive or overly emotional, whereas men who exhibit similar behaviors are frequently seen as strong or assertive. Women may become reluctant to express their opinions as a result of this double standard, which could result in a cycle of silence and underwhelming contributions. Let's bring this all together. Men play a significant role in muted group theory, both as members of the dominant group and potential allies in the fight for equality. This is present in various forms, such as the dominance of male voices in business, politics, and the media, which can overpower the contributions and viewpoints of women and other underrepresented groups. However, men's involvement in muted group theory is not about maintaining dominance. It encompasses an active role in advocating for change. Men can use their positions of privilege to amplify the voices of those heard or muted. When their voices or actions are silenced, women feel inferior, which has an impact on their careers. As members of the dominant group and possible allies in the struggle for equality, men are important to the theory. Effective communication requires an understanding of muted group theory, which emphasizes the significance of identifying and elevating a range of voices in discussions. Ultimately, understanding muted group theory compels us to actively listen to marginalized voices and work toward a more equitable communication landscape. So, the next time you hear a narrative, ask yourself, whose voices are missing and what stories remain untold?